Dun, 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 dun. Hello and welcome to the Liberal Playmaker podcast. I am your host, the Liberal Playmaker, and welcome one more time to the show. We got a lot to get to today. We got a lot to discuss. We got Barcelona, they played on Monday. We got Champions League, they played on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then, if you are so kind to join me offside for a little bit of news, a little bit of discussion, right? There's a lot going on in the world right now. And it's not only going to affect the game that we love, but it will probably more than likely affect us as well. So, before we start, as per usual, just a little bit of admin, just a little bit. If this is the first time, your first time listening to the show, welcome. Good evening. Buenas noches. Buonasera probably is better. It's better pronounced. I gotta learn how to say good evening in German. That'd be nice. But again, if this is the first time that you are listening to the show, you can find me on Spotify, the Liberal Playmaker podcast. You can find me on YouTube, and I'm also on Apple Podcasts. So on all those three platforms, you can find me. Some of you have been finding me on TikTok. I have a TikTok. It's just the same thing, the Liberal Playmaker. I have a little bit of videos on there, and you guys have been liking those videos. So thank you very much for all the love and all the sharing. And with that, please remember to rate the show. So if you like the show, please go ahead, give us 5 stars. You can also like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. The same thing goes with Spotify and Apple. It really helps the show, and it'll really help, people find the show. So if you have the time, please go ahead, rate the show for us. Okay, so we have, like I said, a lot to talk about. Barcelona played versus Rayo Vallecano on Monday, and this was a very, very good game. Now, it wasn't high scoring. There weren't that many goals, but it was good because of the context around the game. So let's backtrack a little bit, give you a little bit of context, because if this is the first time that you are listening to the show, you probably have no idea what's going on. So this took place in Spain, in La Liga. First place, Real Madrid, and second place, Atletico Madrid, played in the weekend, and they both dropped points. So Barcelona, if they win this game, would get enough points to go joint top with Real Madrid. Now, at the beginning of the season, if you remember, Barcelona were completely on fire. They were the ones leading the pack. They were the ones in first place. And then they started to trip up. They started to lose a game here and there. They started to draw more games than win games. And Atletico Madrid pushed past them. And then Real Madrid took over Atleti. And now both of them, Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, dropped points. So could Barça capitalize? And within the first 10 minutes, you could tell that Barcelona was not playing around. Lamine Yamal on the right and Balde on the left were turning it on. The magic was on. They were going 1v1 versus their opposition marker. They were beating their marker. They were not only taking that marker on, but the next guy and the next guy, and they were getting through. They were creating chances. By the 20th minute, Pedri, the most talented midfielder right now in the world, in my opinion, just took control of the game. He was everywhere. He was running back and recovering the ball when they lost it. He was popping up as a 10, playing through balls to his teammates. He was leaving the forwards with his incredible passing in 1v1 situations with the keeper. And finally, I started thinking, why is Frankie de Jong even there? Frankie de Jong is supposed to be the number 6. He's the one that's supposed to carry the ball from the back line over into offense. And while he was playing his part, Pedri was just outshining everybody. He was doing everything. It got to the point where in the 26th minute, there was a penalty. So VAR, the video assistant referee, spotted a foul in the box. The ref goes over to the monitor. He sees the foul. He calls it harsh foul, in my opinion. It was a tough foul. Rayo Vallecano deserved a little bit better, I think, in my opinion. It was a little bit of grappling. It was a corner kick. The ball was coming in. Usually when you see a corner, everybody gathers around the box, for those that don't know, and they're trying to get position to get the ball. And that's when the refs kind of let them be a little bit more physical. And nothing in this foul that I haven't seen before that's never been called a foul. But they called it against Rayo Vallecano. And in the 27th minute, Lewandowski scores from the spot, 1-0. Now, after that, Rayo Vallecano, they tried their best. They actually created some very, very good chances. And the only thing that separated them was the quality of their players. So Rayo are a little bit of a smaller team. They have a good squad. They're a mid-table team in La Liga. But unfortunately, they just couldn't score. And Barcelona takes it, 1-0. So Barça back in first. They are tied with Real Madrid with 51 points. So already you can see that the Clásico is probably going to be a title deciding game. Atletico Madrid also have a part to play in this league. It's a race for a reason. So Atletico are not far behind in third place. And if Barça get a little bit too confident, if Real Madrid decide to probably rotate a little more, because we're going to talk about Real Madrid, they went ahead and had a spectacular game against Manchester City. And if they go deeper and deeper into the Champions League, that's probably going to take priority. That's where they want to put their best players, because that's the biggest competition. That's the world stage, in my opinion. For La Liga fans, I'm sure there's nothing more important than La Liga, but Champions League, that's where the best of the best are. And so far, it's been Real Madrid's tournament. They are the current champions of Europe. I'm sure that they will try and focus on that tournament a little bit more. And Barcelona, they want to win everything. They want to win La Liga. They want to win Champions League. They want to take their dominance back up to where they used to be when Messi was around. So it's going to get interesting. I would watch. Now, let's head. Actually, you know what? Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. And we're back. So we left off where Barcelona beat Rayo Vallecano, but now we're going to go into the Champions League. So they went ahead, and all those teams played on Tuesday and Wednesday. So let's talk about Tuesday. Let's face it, I wasn't really fascinated with a lot of those matchups. The bigger game was on Wednesday, in my opinion, but something of note did occur. So AC Milan eliminated, gone. So Santi Jimenez, who was with Feyenoord at the beginning of the season, in January moves to AC Milan, makes a big move to a big club for the Mexican national. And he went ahead and he scored in this game against his former team. He scores the opener. He makes it 1-0. But for all those that don't know, they play home and away. So there's 2 games, and they add up the goals. Who has the most goals goes through. So that means that Santi Jimenez's goal, even though it's the opener of the game and they're winning 1-0, in reality, they are tied 1-1 on aggregate because Feyenoord scored 1 in the first game. So it's 1-1 on aggregate, and Teo Hernandez from AC Milan gets a red card for diving. Oof. Looks like he tried to fool the referee. Now, in this occasion, I think it was also a bit harsh because in the replay, you can obviously tell that there is no contact. But again, when you're watching it on a replay, it's in slow motion. Things are happening at much faster velocities. And in my opinion, Dale saw the defender coming. He thought probably that there was going to be some good contact, and he tried to jump out of the way. Unfortunately, there was absolutely no contact. So it looked like he dove. It looked like he was trying to buy a foul. He had already had a yellow card for a foul before, and this was his second yellow card. So he went ahead and he got a red card. And then Feyenoord scored. So Feyenoord win on aggregate 2-1. AC Milan eliminated. Now, if you remember from my previous shows, I was a little bit worried about AC Milan's coach because he is technically the new coach. He was brought in because the old coach was just not working out. And in the beginning, he had some success. He was winning some games. He won a big game against Juventus. But just recently, the results really haven't been there. I've been watching them in and out. And whenever I watch them, it's very lethargic. They're not really, they don't really look like they're hungry the way they were at the beginning when this coach came in. And maybe I'm starting to think that it's probably not a good fit. I'm pretty sure if you're a team like AC Milan's side and you get a draw like Feyenoord, and no offense to Feyenoord, they have their own history and they're a great club in the Netherlands. But technically speaking, AC Milan, with their enormous history, 7 Champions Leagues, it's a different size of club, and there's probably a lot of pressure to advance and go into the next round. And unfortunately, that did not happen for AC Milan. Don't be surprised if they give the coach just a few more games to try and see if he can kind of turn this around. In my opinion, I just don't think it'll work out. Now, there was another game on Tuesday, and Bayern Munich, they squeaked by and they eliminated Celtic. Celtic played very well. But Bayern just had a little bit too much for them. So Celtic actually, when I said they played very well, they did. They put Bayern in the hot seat. But fortunately for Celtic, again, Bayern just had just a little bit more quality. You know, that's normal. Celtic gave it a great run. I wouldn't be surprised if Brother Brendy or Brendan Rodgers, Celtics coach, probably some Premier League teams come a knocking again after that great performance. But let's jump to Wednesday, because Wednesday was the game, right? This was the one that we were all waiting for. And to be honest with you, I was expecting a little bit more from Manchester City, but Real Madrid at home at the Bernabeu, at their stadium. I was taking notes in this game in the first half, and I didn't even have time to pull out my phone because in the third minute, what a fantastic goal. Just Mbappe in the third minute, long ball from Raul Asensio, who had a fantastic game. Only his 6th appearance for the team at the Bernabeu. So he's a rookie. It's his rookie season. He's the new center back. So just to give you a bit more context of the game, Real Madrid's defensive line was completely annihilated. Antonio Rudiger made it back. So he started in this game. But with all the center back injuries that they've been having, Raul Asensio gets his opportunity. And boy, did he make his mark. So let me paint a picture for you. Raul Asensio's in his own half, a little bit in front of his own box. He sees Mbappe. Boom, it's a long ball from Raul Asensio. And it goes over the top. The City center back is just trying to keep up with Mbappe, but he just completely misses the flight of the ball. The ball bounces. The keeper has already come out. Wide open net. And Mbappe gets there first, lobs the ball over the keeper into the net. Fantastic goal. Route 1 type of stuff, not above Real Madrid. A goal's a goal, right? And it was a fantastic goal. A little bit, actually, as soon as the kickoffs happened for Manchester City, John Stones, their center back, who is a fantastic player in his own right, got injured. So right after the goal, he goes down. He calls for the sub, and Nathan Ake, the Dutchman, comes in for him. And let's just face it didn't matter. In the 15th minute, Madrid were leading globally by 2. So again, we're counting both games. Because of Mbappe's early goal, they are now up by 2 goals on aggregate, and they really slowed things a bit down. They didn't need to rush as much because they were in the driving seat. They could control this game, and they're at home, right? It's loud, it's their fans. They're going to control this game, and control it they did, because in the 32nd minute, another golazo. This time, Rodrigo, who's the other forward on the right, starts it with Bellingham. So he passes to Bellingham. Bellingham to Vinny Jr., but Rodrigo kept running and gets it at the top of the box where he lays it off for Mbappe. Mbappe fakes the shot, puts the defender on his ass, shoots goal. Right? 2-0, 5-2 on aggregate. And after that, it becomes the Mbappe show and the Raúl Asensio's show, because Asensio was a giant. Eres gigante, Asensio. He was everywhere. If City even thought about scoring, he snuffed it out. He was tackling them, he was hitting them, he was all over it. And because he's from La Cantera, because he's from their academy, the fans were loving it. At any time he touched the ball, the stadium just erupted, right? So he was having a lot of fun. Another note that I made was that Rodrigo was really toying with his marker, with the left back, Gaviardol. All right, if I pronounced that right. He's from Croatia. He was known to be one of the best center backs in the world, and then he goes to Manchester City, and they put him at left back. You know, he's a fantastic player. He was just having a very, very tough time with Rodrigo. Rodrigo was toying with him out there. What a performance by Rodrigo. In the second half, the first 10 minutes, I was thinking that City were going to come out. They were at least going to play for their pride, and they didn't even have that. They pretty much stayed in the locker room. It was all Madrid. In the 60th minute, hat trick by Kylian Mbappe. He gets his third on the right. He cuts in, shoots with his left, and passes it in. Great finish. 3-0. 6-2 on aggregate. Complete and total defeat for Manchester City. City get a consolation goal at the end. 3-1 final. Real Madrid win. 6-3 on aggregate. So I'm just going to take a minute and fall on my sword here, because I will raise my hand and say that I was one of the ones that thought that Kylian Mbappe was probably going to flop as a signing for Real Madrid. And boy, was I wrong. I was completely wrong. I was dead wrong. For those who have been keeping score, Kylian was having a tough time. Mbappe was having a tough time. It's a new team, new city, new league. Everything was new to him. And the way people talk about Mbappe, you know, he is probably, arguably, one of the world's greatest players at the moment. I have my issues with him tactically, but, you know, his talent is undeniable. But sometimes, you know, we've seen players go to Real Madrid and completely fail, like Eden Hazard. At the very, very beginning, the first few games, you could tell that it was just tough. He didn't know how his teammates played. His teammates were also trying to adjust to him. This was Vinicius Junior's team, right? They are the champions of Europe. Vinicius was this close to winning the Ballon d'Or. Kylian was probably, in my opinion, deferring to Vinny, deferring to his teammates. But really, what's been happening these last few games that I've been watching is you could really tell that Mbappe was starting to take the reins. There was a great article on The Athletic about how he's really coming into himself as a number 9, because a lot of the controversy was he plays off on the left. Vinicius plays on the left. Where will they be able to play together? Who's going to sacrifice what for who? And it looks like Mbappe's getting more and more comfortable playing down the middle, which means that Rodrigo stays on the right, Vinicius Jr. stays on the left, and Europe is trembling. I can already think that the team that they are about to face, whoever that may be, the draw is actually going to be tomorrow. So everybody, for those that don't know, they will randomly pick who's going to play who for the round of 16. And it doesn't matter, in my opinion, who they get, because whoever they get will be worried. Great game, great result, great goals, especially the one where he put Garviadol on his ass. My goodness, what talent. Let's go to some notable scorelines. So these are some surprising results. So PSV beat Juventus in extra time. This was a low-key good game. I'm not going to tell you how it ended, but they did go to extra time. I would watch this game. This was not what I was expecting. I'll leave this to you. And if you don't have the time to watch the game, Pardis, I'm looking at you. I know you're watching. Just watch the highlights. Go to YouTube. Watch these goals. I think they're very, very good. Round of 16, like I said, the draw happens tomorrow. The teams that are currently through. So these are the teams that won qualification during these games that we just saw. Bayern Munich, Benfica, Feyenoord, Real Madrid, PSV or PSV, and PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. They will be drawn with one of these 8. Liverpool, Barcelona, Arsenal, Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, Lille, and Aston Villa. The games will be taking place Tuesday, March 4th. Tune in. It'll be Tuesday, and I believe Wednesday is when they play. So, but they start Tuesday on March 4th. Guys, those were the games that I thought were the most important this week. Now it's time. Now it's time for Offside. Oh, man. I love Offside. I love going offside with you guys. There's a lot of news, a lot of European news happening this week. For those that don't know, I've been paying attention to the German elections. So Germany are having their elections on the 23rd of this month. That is going to be Sunday. Let me repeat that again. That's going to take place on a Sunday. Isn't that interesting? Having elections on a Sunday? It's almost like they want their people to vote. I'll leave that there. In other news, now this one's a big one, and this actually has to do with football, with soccer, women's football to be precise. Luis Rubiales, the former president of Spanish football, so El Fútbol de España, was found guilty of sexual assault for kissing Jenny Hermoso. So, for those that don't know, Spain women's team, won the World Cup in 2023. And while they were celebrating, while they were getting their medals, for some reason, Luis Rubiales, without consent, according to Jenny Hermoso and others, decided to grab Jenny by the face and give her an unwanted kiss on the lips, again without her consent. Ugh, poor Jenny. But a court and a judge found that to be the case. He was found guilty today. Jenny went on to say that she had just become a champion of the world, and ever since the incident, her life changed. The entire world saw what happened. I didn't see the game, and I saw what happened. It was everywhere. I hope that just people take this as a lesson. Congratulations to Jenny, and I hope that she can move on and live her life and keep playing and having fun. And now, off to the big one. The USA and Russia are holding peace talks over the war in Ukraine. Only the USA and Russia? You say? Yeah, just them two. Isn't there somebody missing, you ask? Yeah. I would say a whole bunch of people are missing. I would say that the leadership for Ukraine and President Zelensky are missing. I would say that our friends from NATO are all missing. But my country has decided that it's best to hold these peace talks 1v1. Now, Ukraine isn't very happy. The NATO nations are not happy. BBC reporting that top NATO nations met in an emergency security meeting. President Macron invited a lot of the leadership to have an emergency meeting because even though the war is between Russia and Ukraine, this affects not just NATO nations, but all of Europe, and they want to have a voice. And you would suspect that the nation that was invaded, I know there's been reports today that people are disputing that fact, but nope, it was a fact. We all saw it. It was the first war that we all witnessed on TikTok. We all saw Russia invading live on TikTok and other social media platforms. Nobody can take those images away from me, no matter what they say. So NATO nations and Ukraine are trying to have their voices heard and try to find a way to force themselves to the table. I hope they can. Now, that's the news. I'm going to watch in excitement to see what happens with the German elections on the 23rd. I hope you'll join me for that. I'll be doing what I usually do, just talking about soccer, but I'll be telling you the results, hopefully, that very same day. I don't think they are like us in the US where it goes on and on and on until the next day or the next day after that. I'm pretty sure we'll know some results hopefully pretty soon. But before we go, just on a personal note, Daredevil, the show, is coming back March 4th. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love comic books. I read a lot of manga. So every once in a while, we'll probably be discussing Marvel comics, the movies, the shows, just because I love that. And Daredevil is a very, very special show to me because when Daredevil debuted the first time on Netflix, I was going through a heck of a time. I was in New York. It was my first job as a lawyer. I was an immigration lawyer in New York. And while I had a lot of friends in New York, a lot of them were very, very busy doing their own thing. So it was a little difficult. And when I moved there in November. Little did I know that snowpocalypse was going to be on the way. Now, for those that don't know, for those that remember, that don't remember, excuse me, for a few weeks in December, in January, we were just being pounded by snow. Inches and inches and inches of snow. It was just cold. And while I went to law school in Massachusetts and I was used to the snow, I always had people around. I always had my roommates around. I was never alone. For those that don't live on the East Coast, it gets dark earlier than I'm used to as a Texan. And if you're there alone, it can really mess with you. So this was the first time that I was experiencing this alone. And one of the things that I found that distracted me was podcasts. One of my favorite podcasts was for Kevin Smith. He talked a lot about Batman. I discovered Fat Man on Batman. Now it's called Fat Man Beyond. But one of the things that I was just hoping for was March was on the way. And everybody knows that March, spring comes. So we were close to spring. And also, Daredevil was on the way. Now, Daredevil, when it first dropped, was iconic. If you haven't seen Daredevil, it's on Disney Plus right now. You should watch it. It is phenomenal. I absolutely adore the show because of the violence. It's nitty, it's gritty. It was the first time that I ever saw a superhero get punched, get down, and win a fight that you thought. And the bad guys all get back up. And he has to keep going. So brutal show, brutal violence. I loved that show, and it's going to come back March 4th. We'll probably be discussing it. So I'll give you guys the spoiler warning if I decide to talk about it. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I hope you're excited too. I hope that you were excited about these games that we just watched. And if you haven't watched them, again, Pardis, I am looking at you. Go and watch them. If you can't watch them on YouTube. You'll see the highlights. And I would recommend anyone just watch these goals. They were brilliant. Now, there's going to be a lot of action at the weekend as well. But I've hit my time. So I'll be back on Sunday. We'll be discussing the weekend's action. We'll also be discussing the Champions League draw, because again, that's going to be happening as of the time of recording. It's Thursday, so it'll be the draw will be happening tomorrow, Friday, and we'll be finding out what fantastic Champions League games await us. Guys, thank you so much. As always, if you have questions, if you want to reach me via email, you can do so at theliberalplaymaker@gmail.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe. Please rate the show. Leave me your comments. I've been seeing your comments on TikTok. I know you guys are enjoying the clips. Come over, watch the show. Everybody is welcome. Buenas noches. Buona notte. Good night. Bye-bye.